I'd like for you to help me welcome Angela Jowers. She is a 50-year-old newlywed about to celebrate her second anniversary with her amazing, and as she calls him, very handsome husband, Chip. She has two adult children, a 27-year-old of hilarious special needs son, Evan, who she recently transitioned to community living after 26 years of providing his full-time care. She also has a delightful 23-year-old daughter, Phoebe, who just got married a few weeks ago and is a songwriter in Nashville. She is also a life coach with a thriving practice and is the program manager for Life Mentoring School. That is how Angela and I met, was through life coaching through LMS. She has created a full, meaningful life, and she loves, by the grace of God and the gift of life coaching. So, Angela, I'm just so happy to spend a little bit of time chatting with you today, and I am sure my listeners are going to just love getting to know you and your amazing, fun personality.
Fun personality. That's what I'm working on. No, I'm really excited about it. And so glad to visit with you for a little while today.
Yes, me too. This is going to be fun. So, speaking of fun, let's talk for just a minute, if we can, about what happens when it's not fun. What happens when life hands us a little disappointment?
Yeah, I mean, and it does. Of course, it is going to. I used to say all the time, I'm so disappointed. That was like the theme of my life. I was always disappointed with something that happened in my life. Um, I felt like my whole life was disappointing. And so a couple of things that I did to kind of get out of that were, to first just admit, that life is sometimes disappointing. Sometimes things do not work out the way that we want them to. And sometimes that's, you know, out of our control. And some of that is because of our choices. And I think it's just good to admit that, you're disappointed. I don't believe in this toxic positivity that, everything is always supposed to be unicorns and puppy dogs all the time. And so I always call it the red dot on the map, like just admitting where you are, like you are here. When you look at those maps and they have a red dot, you are here. And so I just think it's helpful just to begin with to just be, admit where you are and not pretend you're not feeling that way. And also not to judge yourself for it. It doesn't make you a bad person because you're disappointed. You just have to allow yourself to feel disappointed. Um, and then you get to decide. And that really is what, taking our thoughts captive really is that we admit that we have the thought and then we just decide, um, how do I want to show up in this situation where I'm disappointed, or who do I want to be during this time when I'm disappointed? Who do I want to be in this relationship with this person who
Mm.
I'm maybe disappointed with? Um, and after you decide that, and for me, I just decided I really actually wanted to love my life. And I didn't really love my life at the time, but I wanted to believe, I just practiced believing that I could have a life I loved in the middle of it all. And that I wanted to show up looking for all the things I already loved about my life. And so I just decided that in order to create that for myself, I would tell myself that I loved my life.
Mhm.
I love my life because that's what I wanted. Is I wanted to love my life. I wanted to show up like a person would show up who actually loved their life,
Mhm.
which is, grateful and, content and all of those things. That's the kind of person that I wanted to be. And so I started to tell myself, I love my life. And then it's since turned into, I love my full, meaningful life, because I also decided I wanted to have a full life and I wanted to have a meaningful life. And so um, I would just, I think just practicing telling yourself what you want your life to look like, and then leaning into it and looking for it. The Bible says, you will seek and you will find, and it's really true. We actually have a reticular activating system in the back of our brain. So we actually have a filter that I love it when science catches up with the Bible. So like God put us a filter in there that we will actually find what we're looking for.
Yes, I love that. I love that too.
I mean, we just actually do find what we're looking for. And so and then I just make the decision to choose that every day. I choose to love my life every day. Even today, like I feel tired today. When I first got up, I felt really tired. I did not feel especially motivated when I got up. And so I just had to choose on purpose. Like I choose. I'm choosing to love my life and to live a life that I love today and show up as a person who loves her life.
Mhm.
And, I choose that every single day. And so whatever your choice is, I mean, I think that's how you deal with it. First, you admit that you are disappointed, things maybe aren't going the way exactly that you want. And also, how do you want to be? Who do you want to be in that situation? Um, and then choosing that every day on purpose.
Mm.
And so that's how I have found that it is helpful to deal with it. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know over the few years of knowing you, I have seen such a beautiful story unfolding, and it's very inspirational. And you've shared lots of it throughout, that journey. And it's just been beautiful to watch that. So would you say that, or maybe you sort of began to say already, but has life coaching been a really big part of that journey for you?
Yes. You know, I it really has changed the entire experience of my life. So, and it's changed the way that I experience my relationships and how I move in the world. Um, you know, my mental health is 100% better. My emotional health is 100% better. Um, you know, most of your listeners will not know my story at all, but I mean, I spent 2 years basically functioning from the bed,
Mhm.
with major depression, major anxiety, major, physical issues, but especially my mental and emotional health. I mean, it has made it's 100% difference. And the difference is, I mean, it's not that my life is quite a bit different now, but even as it began to get better, my experience of my life began to get better. Nothing really in my circumstances had changed. I just had tools to deal with and manage my mind and emotions right in the middle of my situation and my circumstances, many of which I could not, I didn't have any control over, some of which I did. And so I just have the tools to manage my life and even just to create a life I love no matter what happens. Um, my life is not perfect even this week. I mean, my daddy is just getting out of the hospital today. Things happen in our lives. That's just life.
Mhm.
That's everybody's life. And
Right.
but I can create a life I love no matter what happens now because I have the tools that I learned because I had a life coach and
Mhm.
because I was in a life coaching program. So at any rate, yeah, it's made all the difference in the whole world in my life. Um, and in how I'm really and just in how I move in the world and how I experience it. So yeah, and that's why I became a life coach, but because it was so powerful. I think everybody needs one because it has made such a powerful difference. And I think a lot of times as Christians, we think, well, I mean, listen, I said all the prayers and I went to the altar all the times and I cried all the tears and I did all the things, but I needed some tools to apply the scripture in my actual real life. And that is really what life coaching gave me was the tools to apply those principles in my actual real life. And when you apply those principles, turns out they work.
Exactly. I agree 100%. They really do work, and it's sometimes simple things, but it's just having that person to help guide you through the scriptural tools that we, need. And, we say this frequently. Angela and I happen to be in the same cohort when we became certified as life coaches. And we say all the time, life coaches also need life coaches. Do you still agree with that?
Oh yeah. I'm in, of course I work for a coaching program, but I'm also in another coaching program, and I have one-on-one coaching nearly every week
Mhm.
to keep my brain on straight. I just think it helps to have somebody, sometimes I can't see it because I'm in the forest. I can't see the, actual individual trees, like what is happening.
Absolutely.
So I find it very helpful to have somebody to help me to declutter my own brain, just like I help other people kind of declutter theirs.
Mhm.
So yeah, I 100%, like I said, I get one-on-one coached almost every week, and also in a coaching program. So yeah, I believe that life coaches definitely need coaches.
I agree. I agree. I'm right there with you and 100% agree with you. I have so enjoyed some of your recent posts where you've talked to along this line about, you know, superwoman. We're not really able to be that, right? I mean, that's kind of turns out doesn't really exist, right?
Yes, she is actually a fictional character.
Mhm.
She actually is fiction. And, so we cannot be her, we cannot be Wonder Woman. Fiction. Those are fictional characters. You cannot turn around 3 times in a circle and your hair be done and your makeup on and you have changed into a cute outfit. That's not the way it works, and I actually had to go to my mirror this morning and perform an actual miracle in the mirror, and it took time, and that is, I think we have some unrealistic expectations for ourselves.
Absolutely. That's so true. And when you mentioned that about the expectations, it made me go back to some of the things you said at the beginning. How when we have those unrealistic expectations of ourselves or of others, especially, what that often leads to is that feeling of disappointment or resentment, like you addressed already so eloquently. But I think recognizing where we have those is so helpful. And sometimes that is what a life coach can do too. Point out those thoughts that we have, those areas where we're trying to maybe work on someone else's manual instead of our own, right?
Yes, I always know it's a red flag for me if I, tell myself something that has the word "should" in the sentence. So
Mm,
if I think they should do it differently or I should have done something differently, I can just go ahead and I can go ahead and know that I'm creating resentment, I'm creating, disappointment, I'm creating, guilt, shame, blame.
mhm,
Like, if there's should in the sentence that I'm telling myself, then I am setting myself up for trouble,
mhm.
for sure.
I agree. I agree. Now, speaking of setting yourself up for trouble, what about if we flip that table and we talk about some of the ways that you do set yourself up for success? What are some of your best tips for that?
This is my favorite subject, really. So, the first thing I do to set myself up for success is I decide what I actually want. And, I think we're scared of that sometimes, like, what do you actually really want? Um, I think especially as Christians, sometimes we think, and listen, there's nothing wrong with this unless you kind of misinterpret it, but like we're taught so much to ignore our feelings or, we're not supposed to be led by our feelings. And I'm not saying that's incorrect, but the Bible says he gives us the desires of our heart. And I don't mean that if I want a Mercedes, that it's going to fall from the sky into my driveway or anything, but I do believe that if we have a true desire in our heart for something, it was put there by God. That's what I believe. Y'all can file that wherever you want to, but I believe that it was put there by God. And so I actually asked myself, like, what do you really want? And so I think that's the first thing. Because how do you know if your life or your day or your month or your year is a success if you don't even know what you wanted out of it. So I do think that you first have to really ask yourself, what do you really want? And I do think we kind of sometimes just go through the motions of our lives and never stop and ask ourselves, like, what do you actually want? And so that's the first thing. And then I actually make a list of everything that I need on the practical side to do, um, to make that thing happen.
Mhm.
Like, what would I need to do? And actually, in between that, I usually ask myself, why do I want it? Like, why do I want that? Why do
Mhm.
I want,
Mhm.
like, right now, I want a boat. That's one thing I want, like a material thing that I want. And, but why do I want it? Well, I want it because number one, I live on a lake and I want to be able to enjoy where I live. But I also want a place for my kids to come home and be able to just enjoy them and make memories with them and all of that. And I like my reasons. I like the reasons why I want it. And so then I might make a list of all the things that I would need to do in order to create that for myself.
Mhm.
To, get that desire from being in my heart to being in my boat dock. What would I need to do? I would need to create some income. I would need to save it. I would need, like, what are all the things I would actually need to do to create that for myself? And that could be with a material thing or something that's not a material thing. Um, and what do I want to believe about my ability to create it?
Mhm.
So I actually asked myself, like, do I believe I could do this? Do I believe I could create this in my life? Do I believe I could create, like right now, one of my big things I'm trying to create for myself in my life is more fun because I just forgot somewhere along the way to have to have fun. I just forgot how to have fun, or to even make time for it.
Mhm.
And so one of the things I'm creating for myself this year in my life is a lot more fun. Do I believe that I can be a fun person? I'm trying to, right?
I've seen evidence of that. You definitely can be a very fun person.
I'm working on it. Like, and
Yes.
so that means, so I've decided, like, one of the things I want to do is to do something fun, to try something fun that I think might be fun every quarter
Mhm.
or even every month. So whether it's something little like my daughter's bridal shower, at the beginning of last month, or enjoying her wedding, like really leaning into enjoying her wedding last month. Like all of these things, I believe that I can create that for myself. And I really have to lean into these sneaky thoughts, like, and take them captive. Like, do I really like, I'm not a fun person. I say that all the time. I'm not a fun person. I have to stop saying that. No, I have to believe that I'm becoming a really fun person and
Yeah.
that I am, I'm able to create really fun experiences for myself. And so I kind of look at, what do I believe about my ability to create it? Um, and then I actually decide when I'm going to do each of those things that are on my list.
Mhm.
So I decide what I want. I decide why I want it. I decide what I believe about my ability to get it. And then I make a list of everything that I need to do to create that for myself. And I put it in my actual calendar. And it sounds so nerdy when you say it out loud. Like I put it in my calendar.
I
Uh,
love that.
and so I literally have in my calendar, that I'm going to, like, if I want to plan a trip for my husband to go on, and for my husband and I to go on, then I have to put in my calendar, like, when am I going to buy the airline tickets? When am I going to book the hotel room? When are we going to take the trip? I need to make sure that he can get the time off. I need to make sure that I take the time off. Like there's a bunch, there's like a bunch of things that have to be done. And I literally put those in my calendar because then we look up at the end of, the year and we're like, well, I really wanted to take a vacation or I really wanted to buy kayaks for the lake. That's another thing on my list of things to do for fun. I'm going to get some kayaks. And that's on my list to do this quarter. And so I have to decide, when am I going to shop for them? And do I need to do research? I don't know. Is there a certain kind of kayak that I need? So I'm going to do the research. I'm going to save the money. I'm going to buy them so that we can go on the lake and enjoy the lake in our kayaks. That would be our in-between step before we get our boat. We're going to have kayaks.
That's a great step to a boat. I love it.
So, but I have to put it in my actual calendar or I just never get around to it. My grandfather used to have these little round things that said "to it" on them that he would give me if I said, "Oh, I'll do it when I get around to it." He was like, "Well, you got one now. You can go do it." So I don't want to get around to it, or I just put that thing on the back burner. Where is the back burner?
It's
Where
gone.
all these things are that I don't even know where to find them. All these things that I've put on the back burner. So I don't want them to be on the back burner. So I actually put it in my calendar when I'm going to do all those things, and then I do them. So whether it's something like that, like I want a boat, or I want to create more fun in my life, or if it's something like today, like I have things that I want to get done today. So, I wanted to be on this podcast with you. I mean, I plan on Sundays. I plan my entire week on Sundays,
Mhm.
and I decide when I'm going to do everything.
Mhm. Mhm.
And some of those things are like, the things that I want to work on for my fun goal, or some of them are work that I need to do, or ways that I want to serve my client or my community, ways that I want to serve my employer. And so all of that stuff, ways that I want to even bless my husband, which means that at 5 o'clock every night I get up and cook dinner.
Mhm.
And so these are just like, it all goes into my calendar, and then I don't think about them anymore. I just decide that whatever's on my day for that day, I'm going to enjoy it. And I go about to enjoying my day. So that's kind of how I set myself up for success. And I've never had a perfect day, or a perfect week, or a perfect month. So I'm a planning ninja. But, then you get the phone call like, your daddy's had a heart attack and he's in the hospital. So I move things around. I mean, I'm very flexible, but I'm also, there's very few emergencies that really come up, but when they do, I can be very flexible and still decide that my day's a success.
Yeah.
And because I am so good at planning my life and creating a life I love, that when things do come up, it's not that big of a deal. Because
Mhm.
I'm not working on everything's at the last minute or whatever. Like, it's not a big deal for me to take a time off for an emergency or for anything that comes up, because I'm so good at setting myself up for success that I'm kind of ahead of the game.
Right.
And so I like that, because that used to not be the case, y'all. Listen, I used to be late all the time everywhere I went. I used to be a hot mess express. Like I was always doing things at the last minute. I was always staying up all night to get things done. I was never getting enough sleep. I was always stressed out. I was always in fight or flight. I do not want to live that way ever again. And so then if anything happened, it was like everything was falling apart,
Mhm.
because I had not on a regular basis set myself up for success. But now it's different. I move through the world differently now. So even if there's something that happens, I can handle it.
Mhm. It's like a new perspective almost, right? Like you.
It's a new way of really moving in the world. It's just such a more peaceful, calm way of moving in the world. And I create more things for myself on purpose than I ever have in my life. And that's what I love about it. I don't always love doing what I said I was going to do when I said I was going to do it. Even if it's something fun, like even if I'm making hotel reservations, like I don't want to do that. You know, like even if it's something that you would think, oh, that should be fun. But I love the results of creating my life this way.
Mhm.
And like you said, setting myself up for success this way.
Yep. Well, I love that. I love all of those tips that you just shared. And I heard you a couple of times refer to a quarter and what you're doing this quarter. So I just want to kind of segue into asking a little bit about that, because I know one of the beautiful things that LMS does, and you are a huge part of that, is creating these 90-day plans, our quarter and what we do. And so can you just maybe go into that in a little bit of depth about how much difference we can make in 90 days.
Yeah, and so Edie and I, Dr. Edie is the creator of Life Mentoring School, and of course, we are Life Mentoring School trained certified coaches. And she read a book several years ago called The 12-Week Year, and then she had us read it, the people that actually work for her. So I was one of those people, and um, it changed my life. And it changed how we worked in the company, but it also changed how we taught other people to work. And so there's something powerful in 90 days or 12 weeks. And the reason why I think it's so powerful is because it creates so much focus. So many times we say, oh, sometime this year I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Or, we set these New Year's resolutions, and I love a good New Year's resolution. The problem is that there's a lot of time between January 1st and December the 31st. And so it's plenty of time to procrastinate and get distracted and to never get around to it. Right. And so 90 days just really helps you create focus. So one of the premises of this book, The 12-Week Year, which I highly recommend. Now, I will not say that I am as it's pretty technical in the way that they apply this principle, but still you'll get the gist. Um, but every week is like a month. So if 90 days is 12 weeks.
Mm.
And so 12 weeks, if you treat every day, I mean, every month, like you would every week, like you would a month,
Right. Mhm.
then there's not a lot of room for procrastination. And there's not a lot of room for distraction. And so I run my life, I run my coaching practice, I run everything in 90-day segments.
Mhm.
And so if 12 weeks is like a month, if each week is like a month, then each day is like um a week,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And so my focus every day is what I get done in a day, what most people get done in a week.
Mm.
'Cause I don't mess around. When I'm working, I'm working. My phone is on do not disturb. I work. When I'm playing. Like when whatever I do, I am doing it with a lot of presence and focus because and that's really the power of it, is that you set up your 90 days like this is the year for you. I mean, it kind of it's that feeling.
Mhm.
So it really creates this sense of focus. There's less room for procrastination. There's less room for distraction. There's less room for for confusion, for this part of you that wants to tell you that you don't know what to do. Oh, I
Mhm.
don't know what to do. Like that's my goal, but I don't really know how to do it, or I don't know what to do it. You figure it out real quick because you have given yourself this 90-day window to do this. It also makes you constrain yourself. So, most of the time, like, especially when I started kind of doing this work, being coached and learning some of these tools, you know, we, um, we think that, well, we can't constrain ourselves to one or two things because there's so much we need to work on. So we need to work on 20 things or 10 things. And there's 10 things that we want. There's 10 things that we want to improve in our lives, but 10 things feels very overwhelming. And so what do we do when we're overwhelmed?
Nothing.
Zero, nothing. Yes. And so we think, well, I can't narrow it down to one or two things because I need to improve 10 things. I need to lose weight and get fit and deal with my money and, work on my marriage, and my house is a hot mess. Like, and so I need to work on all of that. Well, of course, that is a lot and that is very overwhelming. But if you constrain it to one or two things in a quarter, and when you get really good at it, you can sometimes do three. I recommend at the very beginning, if you're going to do this, to just work on one thing.
Mhm.
But I usually pick about three things a quarter and I really focus on them. And then the next quarter, I work on three more things.
Mhm.
And then the next quarter, I work on 3 more things. But even if you work on one major thing a quarter, that's 4 major things that you have done, created for yourself in your life a year. If you get really good at it and you can do 2 or 3, that's 8 or 12 things that you have accomplished in a year. And that's way more than I was getting accomplished in any other year. It was like Groundhog Day every year.
Yes.
It's like, "Oh, yeah, I meant to do that last year. So I'm gonna try to do all those things this year. And then
Mhm.
I'm gonna try to do all those things next year." And then 5 years from now, my life is exactly the same. I'm low level miserable, low level annoyed, and feel like a failure because and really, if you just constrain yourself to 1 or 2 things a quarter and really focus on those things and get to work, it's like magic. You can get an amazing amount done. I am astounded by what I can do in 12 weeks, and I'm really astounded in what I can get done and the experiences I can have in a year.
Mm. Yeah,
So it is really like magic.
that's wonderful. Well, I'm certain without a doubt that our listeners are very inspired by all the things you've been sharing. So I want to make sure that they're able to reach out to you. So we're going to include all of Angela's contact info. If you're interested in one-on-one coaching with Angela or just want to reach out and ask her questions, that will be in the show notes. But before we go, do you have anything else you would like to share, Angela?
I don't think really. I think that if you are one of Stephanie's clients, you are super, super lucky because she has such a big heart and loves, she tells us all the time, no names, of course, but she tells us all the time about her clients and how much she loves them and how much progress they're making and how proud of them she is. And so if you are one of Stephanie's clients or you are in her world at all, you are so blessed and highly favored because she has got such a big heart. And so, and I would say the easiest way to find me is just run over to Instagram and it's Land of Angela. I'm Land of Angela everywhere. It's is the easiest way to find me. But yeah, if you are in Stephanie's world, you are so blessed, and I am so blessed to be in your world. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to visit with you today.
Well, thank you, Angela. And I feel the same about you. It's a blessing to know you. It's a blessing to be in your world. And I'm just grateful that God brought us together as He has.
Me too.
Thank you again for being with us.
You are so welcome.
Until next time, this is my hope for you. You can find me at stephaniejohns.com or on the gram at the Hope Coach. You can use the links in the show notes below to apply for one-on-one coaching and to join my email list.